Howdy. By now, I'm sure you've heard of Hasbro and Takara Tomy, the two primary toy companies behind Transformers. Well, a third called Sonokong released a few of Takara's products in Korea. This includes some, but not all of the Micron Legend or Armada toys. Amongst them is Doubleface with Micron's Bright and Shadow, or Sideways with Minicons Rook and Crosswise. In Korea, the series is called Galactic Heroes, Cybertrons, but these guys retain their Japanese names. Like all Armada vehicles, the motorcycle mode is simple, but it looks like what it's supposed to. If you've watched other video reviews, some more angry than others, you'll find the range lacks a lot of the complex sculpting seen in other lines. There's some there, don't get me wrong, and the exhaust fume missiles are always welcome. Otherwise, that part of the budget went towards the Micron partners, as well as the gimmicks. It doesn't even have a kickstand, though thankfully the bike stands up on its own just fine. Intentional or not, the deco evokes Beast Machine's thrust, as in his show colours. Heck, the bike even has its own face, right down to the headlight optics. The purple and yellow on the front cowl are inverted for sideways, though Doubleface is more anime accurate. On to the Microns. First, there's Bright. Yes, despite his colours, this is Bright. Now of course, there's only so much you can do with a Micron or Minicon, and these two have to accommodate 3 modes each. But that still doesn't change the fact that he looks hilarious, with what can only be described as, well, frog legs. Of the two, he definitely looks worse. On the plus side, he's far more posable, thanks to said frog legs. By contrast, Shadow looks a little better since his upper thighs are covered by his own body. But it's at the cost of his hips, which in turn makes his knee articulation useless. They're featured in several Armada comics, but they never actually appeared in the show. Individually, that's right, Bright and Shadow can merge into a larger, unnamed robot. Well, unnamed in America. In Japan and Korea, he's known as Mirror. Outside of the Micron's arms hanging off his body, he looks pretty good. And their articulation's much more effective here. Shadow's hips are freed, and Bright's legs, now Mirror's arms, are just as posable. If only he had slightly larger feet. 2 ports on Doubleface and tabs underneath each partner allow them to ride him separately, though Shadow's kind of struggling there. Doc of the Moon Leadfoot would be jealous. Or as Mirror, who's not only in good scale, but can even grasp the handlebars. The bot mode is a mixed bag. The colours carry over with no new reveals or changes in balance. Proportion-wise, he's okay, I guess, and the only new details are the visor and mouthplate sculpted on his very simplistic head, outside of those weird handlebar antlers. I don't know if it's a fault of the design, my copy, or Sonokong's quality control, but the shoulders don't quite peg in where they're supposed to. Much like very strong ratchet joints, the hinges of the motorcycle flanks can only move to set positions, and the alignment is so close, yet not quite there. Most Armada toys have low articulation, but Doubleface has only 6 points, the wrists, shoulders and hips. With no head swivel, no knees and no elbows, he just ends up looking stiff. Doubleface has 4 Micron posts, 2 of which are gimmicked. Plug Bright, Shadow, or any Micron onto either arm, push it forward, and the missile fires. I'm assuming the posts on his legs are for storage. But enough of that, time to talk about this toy's most memorable feature. Be it Sideways or Doubleface, we have ourselves a faction switcher. Bright and Shadow turn into heads, helmets, masks, whatever you want to call them, and each helmet reveals a different faction logo on Doubleface's chest. collapse the biker bot's head down, and we'll start with Bright, plug him on top, and we have the Autobot symbol. So now you know why he's called Bright. The head mode is actually pretty close to the animation model. When the show itself is close, that is. Some silver or grey paint wouldn't go amiss on the horns and mouthplate though. I mean, that's what Jim Van der Kolk did with his Sideways. You can probably guess what'll happen with Shadow. There's the Decepticon logo. His head mode doesn't look as good since the horns on the show look so much like actual horns, and there's no denying these are splayed out legs. That's not a complaint. As I said, there's only so much they could do. It's just the way it is. And of course I'll address the running change. Early versions of Sideways had Rook and Crosswise revealing the opposite factions. I say opposite and not wrong, because that's how it was meant to be. But the show got it backwards, big surprise, so they changed the toy to reflect this little animation error. In addition, all red paint on Crosswise became purple. Takara, and thus Sonokong, used this second setup from the get-go. For all this set's flaws, and it is pretty flawed I have to say, I still recommend it. Despite the whole gimmicks ruin toys philosophy of Armada, people seem more forgiving with this figure since A. Sideways was one of the show's few saving graces, even if it did improve in the second half. B. The main gimmick ties in with his character, whereas others merely unlock or flip out hidden weapons. And C. The gimmick technically makes him something of a headmaster, so some nostalgia strings get plucked. All that, in my opinion, is more than enough to warrant interest. Though I must admit, if you're looking for an all-around better figure of the character, or the US character, wait till my next review.